Death and Dementia, where I left off, we were trying to get mom and dad into assisted living, getting to that point, and going through their decline. One of the things I didn't mention in the last video is that twice while we were going through this process, dad wandered. And one time he got lost in a car when he was still driving before we took that away. And fortunately for us, it was pretty short that he was missing, and someone saw him, and we got him back home. And then we got lucky a second time where mom had laid down to take a nap because she had some house cleaners over, and fortunately the house cleaners saw dad walk out the front door. And by the time they scrambled and got there, he was, almost, between a quarter mile and a half mile away already, and walking pretty quick. And kind of the strange thing, they take their nightly walks. They have, like I said, since I was a kid. He went the absolute opposite direction that the normal nightly walks are. Fortunately, they found him again, and I mentioned before we started looking into some ways to track him. I tried on the cell phone, but mom wouldn't turn the cell phone on. And I did find this company, TheoraCare, and gal Shelly Simons is the one I've been talking to there. I'll put their website up, attach it to this video as well. And we kind of found this item a bit late for mom and dad because we got him into assisted living. But I was pretty impressed, and they have a lot of studies on their website for this item. One of the things that I was concerned about is if there's someone's gonna have to charge the watch, and mom and dad don't know how to put a watch on or whatever tracking. This one's a watch, and also they'll just take it off, and it doesn't do any good. This is the only product I found. If there's some other ones out there, then I don't know about them, but it has a locking wristband on this watch, so you have to take it off with a little tool. So if you can put it on, whoever has dementia or whatever, you can track them. And part of what impressed me about this, in addition to the studies and the testimonials that they have on the website, is it runs off a cell phone technology, so you can call it from your phone and it answers automatically. They don't have to figure it out how to answer it, and you can talk to them. It has precise GPS as well, so if they do go outside a boundary, you set a boundary, it'll call your cell phone directly or whatever phone you want. So once again, it was a bit late for us, but I'm still in contact with Shelly. I really like the product, and if you're going through this like we are, it's worth looking at. And like I said, I'll put the website up on this video as well. So as part of my career toward the end, for a couple years, I did management for search and rescue. And I got to say, and throughout my career, I can't even count how many people with Alzheimer's dementia that we end up searching for. And a lot of those searches don't end up good, unfortunately. And part of the problem is that I ran into, and that I noticed, is no one wants to call the police right away. And you get mom or dad that go missing, and you think it was only 10 minutes, but most of the time it probably was 20, 30 minutes or whatever. You start looking around the house, you start looking around the neighborhood, you start calling family and friends, and no one's seen him. By the time people normally call local law enforcement, sometimes it's been 2, 3, 4 hours. And just think about how far a person can walk in a couple hours. That's a long ways. And it just increases that area that has to be searched, and increases the dangers as well. And then when I was helping to manage search and rescue, what would happen is law enforcement would go out with their local resources, and a lot of them don't have a lot of resources, and they would search for a few hours, and then we'd get the call at the county level at 5 o'clock at night. It's starting to get dark, and it's going to be cold out, and the person left wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and now you have to scramble resources to try to search at night, because if they're out in that weather with almost nothing on, in their condition, being older, it's not going to turn out good. So if you do end up dealing with this, if your loved one with Alzheimer's, dementia, or any other kind of challenge where they can't think for themselves too well, call early. Call right away. If they're missing, just get on the phone and call the police, because law enforcement would rather come out and pull up to your house. You go, oh my God, I found him. He was down the street. And then they drive away. That's it. They would much rather do that than it's been an hour and they're going to spend hours and hours, and it's going to, there's a chance it's not going to turn out good for anyone. So call early. Agencies are not going to mind. They're going to appreciate you calling early. And then if they can't find the person, then they can get a lot of resources in. I mean, with the technology now, the way we did it is, depending on the type of area, we could have had people searching on foot. We could have had people, searching on horseback. We could have had airplanes in the air, and people searching with drones and all those things. It just takes some time. So the quicker that you notify law enforcement when someone's missing, the better off and the better results you're hopefully going to get. So in getting mom and dad ready to move, we asked them, kind of foolishly because their memory is going, but to pick out what they wanted to bring with them to the apartment. They were moving from a 3-bedroom, 2-bath into an apartment, which was 1 bedroom. And so not everything can go. And at first we asked them, my brother and I asked them, decide what you want to bring with you, what you want to keep in storage, and what you want to give away. And what we learned from dealing with our older brother's stuff is we got one of those pods, parked it in the driveway, and if there's anything that mom and dad questioned whether or not they wanted to keep it, we shoved it in the pod. We can put it in storage and deal with it another day if they want it. They had trouble deciding between those. And so after probably about 2 weeks of not really making too much progress doing that, what we just said is, what do you want to bring with you, period. That's it. And then we got them moved. So they had the things that they actually wanted to have in their apartment with them. Then my brother and I had to start going through things and deciding what went to storage and what we just got rid of. On the last day that mom and dad were there, I think most of their stuff was already at the apartment, what they really wanted to do was have friends, family, and a bunch of people that they've known throughout their life to come over and pick something that they liked. And that's good for mom and dad. It made them feel really good about giving some of these things away that they weren't going to use. But once again, be prepared that some of it's going to be hard to watch, because in our case, you saw a lot of people show up that hadn't seen mom and dad for years, hadn't done a damn thing for them. And wouldn't you know, what a coinky dink that they happen to like the expensive shit, and oh my God, this is going to remind me of you, and just like, oh my God, the cash in your wallet will remind me of you. Why don't I have that? It wasn't to that point, but it was expensive shit they were walking out with, which was fine. It made mom and dad happy. They can have it too. It's hard to watch because some of these people are just taking advantage. And most of those people, not all of them, but most of those people disappeared after that. They've never visited mom and dad once. So it's frustrating to watch. But the way my brother and I looked at it is, mom and dad had a good time. They felt good about giving things away to some of these people, and that's as far as we kind of think about it. But just kind of watch out for that and understand it might be a tough thing to deal with. So my brother and I had to deal with the rest of the stuff after people took things that they wanted, and we put things in storage that we thought mom and dad might want down the road, or that we wanted to keep in the family down the road. You're still left with a lot of stuff. They've been in the house since 1968, so you accumulate a lot of things. And it's hard. We grew up there, going through all your childhood stuff, and I don't have room for a lot of that stuff in my house. My brother didn't either. And some of it's just going to sit in a shed, so figure it out. We ended up having a garage sale, which got rid of some of the stuff. One of the things that, if you're like us, is going to be hard to deal with is things that meant a lot to your family members, but you can't figure out what to do with it, and they end up going to the dumpster. And with mom, it was her china cabinets, and a lot of people from that generation had the china cabinets. No one wants those anymore, and there's not much to do with them. And she had two of them, and she was adamant that please find a good home for them, and this and that. And we tried. I mean, the donation places wouldn't take them. The garage sale, we were finally giving stuff away, and no one would take them. And ultimately, and if anyone puts mom on and makes her watch this video, it was my brother's idea. But ultimately, they end up going in the dumpster, and it's hard to watch. It's hard to do, and we did tell her that we found a good place for them. But what are you left with? You're the one doing the work, and there's not much you're going to do about some of the stuff. So once again, try to take it easy on yourself. You're human. There's only so much you can do, and when you have to take on these challenges, it's huge, and it can become a huge burden and take a big chunk of your life. So to get mom and dad to their new apartment, we did find a good moving company, which kind of saved us. And if you're going into assisted living like mom and dad were, we went with the company they recommend because they know the facility, they know the ins and outs and things like that. So that worked out well. And one of the hardest things that I've had to do is when we finally got them moved in, we finally brought them there, and we knew that they were never going back to the place they lived for years and years and years, like 50 years. And then walking out the door and leaving them in an apartment with strangers around, that was tough to do. And a lot of guilt involved. It's not going to be an easy thing. The facility they're at ended up walking them around, introducing them to people. And now that they've been there a couple of years, they have friends there, so it's easier. But that first day is going to be really tough on you and on them too. Just looking at the look on their face when you're walking away from them. But I'll go and do some more stuff in the next video. Until then, God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.